Let there be light, and there was light. Words of the said God, Mother Eve. Okay, so I thought I would try and capture a pattern of numbers that I have seen, and although I have recorded a video on that, but of course it was cut short, and it's entitled The Position of the Gods, which is part one. I've just realized that I had it partly unlisted because I may have covered aspects of it in part two, but I feel that it's important to revisit this because there's a wonderful pattern. I say wonderful because I just believe a pattern is offering some insight, and I haven't got the answer as to how or why that pattern is showing, apart from the fact that it's already telling us that there is a deliberate mathematical construct or a high intelligence that has a mathematical construct put in place in the scriptures to enable us to delve in the wisdom of what is. That's all I can say for now, but I believe that while we explore this, answers will arrive as they normally do. So I'm going to call on the spirit of Mother Eve and the gods of enlightenment and the gods to reveal their characters, not in any, well, let's not say not in, but to be concise, transparent, and true, to enable us to understand the wisdom in the pattern that is being transpired here on this board. So you might have come across this, but this is the pattern of how the gods appeared in the sequence they appeared in Genesis of chapter 1 and 2. Now I must make it clear, it's not to say that the God who moved, for instance, did not appear in another section with the God who called, just for example, but I am stating that they came in this chronological order of, or in this order of their entrance in the, or entry in the Holy Bible, or the story of creation. So, this is what I believe as well has happened, because I have not really noted, for instance, if the maid God was mentioned another place, but the way I have been intuitively guided to do this, we have got a pattern here which has 4672, and then we have 2764. Of course, the last entry is 2, which is in itself like more or less saying there are two aspects of the gods or functions or makeup or creation. That last 2, which is number 9. So basically number 9 is what births, and that is telling us that it is birthing 2 sets of gods. Or the 2 sets of gods here we have, of course, comes under the number 3. Now, or 2 sets of 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Are we of the, or 2 of the 6 that we are made of in that experiment that I have mentioned before in past presentations. Now, so how I got this pattern here is very simple, because what I quickly got to learning about numerology in the scriptures is that when we say 2, for instance, the symbol 2, and in numerical value, we would not necessarily go through working of the word form TWO for 2. We seem to just stop at that symbol of the number 2, the number 2. But of course, what I understand if the scriptures then said 2 as in TWO, I had a responsibility to examine the numerical value of that 2, which actually is 13. And we see that 13 has a strong correlation with the sacrifice template from which all these things derived from. When I say things, these presentations, because it was through the sacrifice template that was devised around Easter time, of course, talking about Christ and the 12 disciples, that would be 13. And this is where I discovered the number 13 is very significant in creation. It is very significant as when we learn of God created man in his own image and likeness. I have done a series of calculations that show that there were 2 sets of 13. I have not done this presentation yet because I feel it is very deep, and it's got I really need to master the art, if you like, of delivery to an extent, so I can deliver this in a comprehensive and succinct manner so people can understand. But there are 2 aspects of 13. So of course we have 13 plus 13 is 26, and of course we see that 26, 2 plus 6 also equals 8, which is the number of God, or the number of God in the sense, even in Judaism, you have 26 as the number of God. So this is what I am talking about here, that I am wanting to understand. And we see that the God, the created God, has a value of 2, which consists of the first master number. And of course the master number has doubled or shown to double itself. So it's showing 2 aspects of its makeup, as the number 2, as the word form 2, and we have 13 as the word form 2 is 13. 1 plus 3 is 4. So created God right there had really set a foundation. There was the foundation when we hear that God in the beginning God created man in his own image, or in the beginning God created heaven and earth, rather. God created heaven and earth. That was foundation right there. Heaven, of course, is 10 and earth is 7. 1 plus 7 is 8. And that's what we are talking about, of course. The number 8 being the number of infinity. God created. They created. The word 8 equals number 8, which is in the word created. Or like it is said, Adam and Eve ate of the fruit. This word ate equals 8. Eat equals 8. So we can see that it is saying that there are 2 sets right there, or 2 8s, a 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. So the world was created in 7 days, 6 days, and on the 7th day God rested. We hear of this. So we see all of creation is more or less stipulated in this in the first verse, where God, in the beginning God created. We must stress that the beginning is not a very it's not the beginning as we think or we thought. I'm hoping that is thought. It was that there was nothing and everything we are from scratch. No, the beginning was the beginning of a genocide, a genesis that derived from a genocide, an experiment that was new. Hence, I'm believing that the word new in the sacrifice template have been devised to give us this, it's like a pathway or a sign or a symbol to helping us recognize ourselves. So we are a new people. It's like saying when you are there, when you recognize you are 5, you are new. When you recognize you are 6, you are new. Okay, so numbers are rubbing off here. Okay, this is 369, 369. And perhaps it's fair to say when we recognize we are 9, we are birthing newness, or we are shedding our skin, because skin is 8, and that's what Mother Eve is about, to show us how to shed of our skin. Skin is that which covers up. We could say it covers up a certain, it covers up a certain form or a certain shape. And so when we break out of that shape or that form, it is necessary that we break out of that form, that shape, shed of it. That's when we become 9. And this is when it's like saying, you could imagine when you exfoliate, okay, there's maybe an argument around this, but it's like your skin can breathe. You feel your skin is breathing a new life. So there we are breathing newness right there. And the word breathed equals 9. Okay. So, of course, if you're new to this template, it's the template of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. I would urge that you watch the introduction to Crimey Queen 2018. Will tell you a lot about how this has been devised, and you will see through the series of presentations that it has proven to be quite robust in teaching us a lot of the scriptures, the deep meanings of the scriptures, and the numbers and their numerical vibration, and how these resonate with us. Okay, so basically, the pattern, back to the pattern of 6 4 4 6 7 2 and 2 7 6 4. Now, so as I say, they come in the order that the gods had laid out or set out in the scriptures. And I am believing now that we are meant to be following a different pattern, actually, a different pattern in the sense of whether it's the mirror image of this pattern. But I had looked at for instance, the called God would be the first God that we perhaps need to observe in forming man, or making man in our image after our likeness. So we'll have to, it is important that we pay attention to the order that has been prescribed for us. But what has been happening is that people have been following the same pattern of doing things, or how it has been done, and we have been going in these cycles. But Mother Eve has required us to understand the deep wisdom of the pattern, but also recognize that there is another way that we are required to follow. And so, of course, we know that the functions of the number. So we know that the number 13 is the incubator. So basically here, what I am saying is that the word created, as we had a wide range of words from the word created, we had at, meaning position, we had a crate, we had rat, we have rate, treat, tear, dear, as in writing, dear madam, sir. We have dear, we have air, we have air, we have rare, we have so many words that come from the word created. And so that tells us that it is a very it is very concise. It is very reactive. Of course, the word create is really created, is really reacted. So that's what the word is about. So we, of course, need to understand, are we creating, are we reacting? Of course, they one and the same, because nothing new under the sun, but we are meant to observe, make these observations. The moved God, of course, has a numerical value of 5. And when we do the numerical value for the word 5, it equals 24. We could say that the hours of the day had come into play there. We could also say, of course, as Mother Eve is 5, and of course there is 6, we could see that the word moved coincides perfectly on the sacrifice template as in new. So what we are seeing here for the word created equals 2. Of course, 2 is when we add 5 plus 6 together, that gives us 11. So we could see created is right there. In that was a new moved, or new, the God who moved. So the moved God, for instance, equals 5, as we see. 5 is here again. And I'm just checking. When we work out the numerical value for the word 5, which equals 6, it equals 6 right here. 3 fives are 6, 3 fives are 15, 1 plus 5 is 6. But we also see the moved God was very active here. So we have now been able to allocate or locate the function of the created God here and the moved God here. Now let's see about the, so we have the said God, which is 6. Okay, so the said God is 6, but it equals 7. So 16, 1 plus 6 is 7. So let's say, of course, as the number of the said God is 6, which is 3 fives of 15, of course, we have 3 fives of 15 right here. This is where the said God is located in the new as well. But we also have 7. So 7 would take us to the gypsy journey on this template, which also has a numerical value or vibration of 3 under that column. 3 under the column, of course, coincides with the serpent. 7 coincides with the serpent, which is present. The word present and the word serpent is in 7. So we would say the said God appears in the new and in the gypsy journey. So rightly so, the serpent is on a journey. The serpent is not staying still forever. It's on that journey, and the journey that the serpent is on is to teach us how to eat of the fruit, how to digest of it, how to be enlightened, how to activate our third eye, our the kundalini, how to get into the 5th and 8th dimension. That's the journey that the said God is on here. A new journey, of course. It would mean it would have to, as we can see, it is also 6. It would have to be a fox, in the sense of be as cunning and be clever as a fox right here. Of course, we see again, like I've just mentioned, the number 9 is where it sheds its skin, because perhaps part of the serpent or the said God being clever and cunning is about shedding its skin, so it is not always noticeable as one would think. So it goes through different motions and moves and or trails, of course, to get on its gypsy journey. So now we have located the created God, the moved God, and the said God, which is number 3 on the entry. So we have the next, which is 7. 7, the saw God. The saw God equals 7, which is just like I have mentioned on the gypsy journey. When we do the numerical value for the word 7, it equals 20. Of course, 20 is 2. So basically, the serpent, the set God, or this is letting us know this is where the set God, we could say, or the soul God, it's like it has divided itself in two polarities, and it's two polarities as the word two. Of course, the word two has the same vibration as 4 in the sense of the numerical values here. So the word, so 2, of course, as I say, is 13. So there's another incubation happening right there. So we could say we have located two, we can say in essence we have located another 13 vibration, we could say that right there, or an incubator, or harmony. This is where harmony and fellowship happens on number 3. And that gives us, in fact, this is where we see our first master number right here, which is on divided. Now, of course, divided is number 5. This number 5, or excuse me, I was talking about 7. So let's stick on 7. 7, the soul God, which is number 4. And number 4 here is also reflecting the 4 vibration of the incubator anyway. So it's nice for us to be able to see how the vibrations of their positions are attracted to each other in that sense. So the soul God has picked up the vibration of the 4, which is foundation. So of course, as I say, the soul could mean like a cutting, a severing, or the site as much as the site. So 20, as we have seen, is also, or 2, is the numerical value for foundation. It is foundation, it is the rock, it means south, it means of course created, as we have seen, but so many words that show for foundation and harmony and fellowship. This is what 2 is actually representing here, especially in the form of number 20. It really does mean that rock, and that it really means south. It really gives that vibration right there. So to make the point on the template, we could say that it's as if from the 7 here, there is number 2, which is perhaps where there we could say well, of course, so it was saw. It has the vibration of 7, the word saw. 7 is 2. So basically we see the 2 7s, 14. We could say this is where the gods are have made their mark. We could say the gods have made their mark in the word saw, and the word saw is where the saw God says everything is good. So everything God saw, he saw it was good. Everything God saw, God made, he saw it was good. And I think the word saw, or we have the double vibration of 7 in the text as well, to show that there are 2 sets of 7 of the gods. Of course, this is why we have 2. Just locating how the gods are maneuvering in the template. Just checking on the time. Okay, because it's really nice if I can wrap things up in one instead of it just stopping abruptly. Okay, so we have the divided God, which is the 5th entry. Now, of course, we know that the number 5 here, the 5th entry, is really, I must make note that I hadn't really compared the entries when I was doing the evaluations here, we are concentrating mainly here, but I thought I would mention the fifth entry as the number 5 of Mother Eve, because I'm so used to making note of 5 and attributing 5 to Mother Eve. Well, it is, or observing rather. So divided is 3. And of course, this is where we have the first master number as well, and that is 2. So divided, it's as if the divided God wants us to observe that there are 2 aspects to the creation as well. And with the 2 aspects of creation, of course, as the number 3, which is what I call the W, the M, the 8-petal flower. So divided here is really like making a point that we have this W, we have this 2U. This is where the word, when it says to you, for you, all these here are really directly the gods talking, or we are giving life to the gods in our language. That's what happens. We give life to the gods. So in the W, and we say to you, because those the W is 2 U's attached. We are actually harnessing or anchoring on the divided God when we say to you. In our mind, we are if I say something or I'm sending that to you, it's as if I am giving the impression you are separate from myself. But the wisdom, I believe the God, the divided God is trying to tell us here is that, yes, you may look like these 2 separate entities here, one and one here, but this actually means you are still, you are a link. You are the link right here. And this, you anchor on each other here. So this is something very important for us to note. And that's where I think I am believing that. I use the word believe again. The word believe actually is 33. So there we are. It's the W's or the 2 U's are really spelling out their nature, we could say. Okay, so just to, yes, so the divided God is 3, and of course, so basically the soul God has taken us back onto the other side of Mother Eve, has taken us back into this cycle, into our primitive stage, it would seem like. So this is where we are getting the characteristics of the gods here. So the soul God, although the soul God is 7, for instance, but the soul God is showing us his character is really here in this column, in the basket, we could say. And when we add, of course, if we add 2 plus 6, that gives us 8. So the soul God, if you could, has this, has a connection with the figure 8, and it's 2. It's, oh, okay, I'm just wondering if I should, okay, take this off. So the soul God, for instance, I know we're on the divided God, but I really want to make this point here, because the soul God is the 7, and, oh, okay, but the 2 plus 6, as I added on here, is 8, which is what I want to show. But there is, there we see, there is 2 whole, or there's the soul. The soaring is happening there, but this is where we have the eyes. So we could say the soaring happened here, and we could even say that these are the eyes here, and there is a division here. This is the bridge. The bridge equals 9. Okay, so we have the nose. So basically, I just really want to locate the functions of the gods. So the soul god has his makeup in A and I, artificial intelligence. Yes, that's what we see. There is a soaring that we are now with the illusion that we have to be or cut ourselves or certain parts of ourselves and be like artificial intelligence. Okay, that's perhaps Mother Eve bringing in this information. That's how it happens. So another, so we have seen the same thing would happen with the number 3, as I said. So 3 and 2 actually have a lot in common in this stage. But as we can see, the pattern is 4, 6, 7, 2, and this 2 is 2, 7, 6, 4. So basically, they're the same thing, but they are showing us different, more or less the same thing, but showing us different formats or different sides of the gods. So we go back to so the cult god, for instance, equals 1, and of course 1 is 7. So 7 here, if we did the numerical value for the word 7, it would be 2. And so we have 7 here. And that, I think, is already giving us an insight to what is happening here. If we do the numerical value for number 6 gives us 7. Of course, this is 7 here. If we do the numerical value for the word for 4, the word 4, it gives us 24. Of course, 2 plus 4 is 6. So we see we really have the same the functions or attributes happening here. As I say, the 9 here, the blessed, which is number 3, and we can see here, for instance, 3 is really showing us its magic, because now it's like telling us that we have come onto a new phase. So, number 9, where is blessed? This is the meaning of the word bless. It has less in it. It is like a cutting away and showing and increasing, or being able to bring something new into motion. So this is a new phase. So this is really showing us how the gods had operated there. There were 2 sets of creation, and now this is what I believe Mother Eve is showing us now, to look at the next part of creation that we are embarking on. Now, I'm believing that there is a hint in this number 3. As we have seen, it creates the 8th petal flower. We are on the 5th and 8th dimension, which equals, of course, that would be 16, or is it 16? 8, yeah, 8. So we would have to be mindful of what we are creating. So I thought I would put this out there to the universe, letting Mother Eve know we want more insight into the pattern that we are seeing right there, and also the other pattern that Mother Eve has showed us, that instead of having created as number 1, basically we would be having the cult god as 1. So here we have 1, so we would be creating this 7. Now I have spoken about we are in a 7-year, or this 7-year cycle is the 8th cycle, 5th and 8th cycle, or 8th cycle to be precise. This is where Mother Eve on her Latin said, let there be, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Just checking the time. Let us make man in our image after our likeness. This is where Mother Eve is calling us. So basically, this is where we start with this number 1 here. Then we go to the created God here for 2. Then we go to the bless. So basically when we are blessing, we are dividing, we could say. There are 2 aspects. So we have the 7. I believe I'm saying it right now. We have the 7. 1, we get into the called God, get onto the called God, who gives us this whole oneness. 1. Of course, we are talking about we are in a 7-year cycle. This is an incubation period now. And of course, this 7, we get into, as I say, if we do the numerical value for the word 7, it equals 2. So there we go into number 2 with the created God. The created God gives us the incubation to create our foundation of the number 4. Right. Then, of course, number 4, we are faced with of course, 4 is the incubation, and it falls under the number 2 aspect of the sacrifice template, which is the bucket, the basket, the bread. This is where harmony and everything happens. This is where we are feeding our minds with everything necessary to create the new man in God's image and in our image after our likeness. So this is where we are mindful of everything that we are taking with us to create and to be in the incubation period. The incubation period, I believe, is the 7 years, which coincides with Uranus in the house of Taurus. Okay, the second, and it is the second house. So we can see how the numbers, this is really saying we are not meant to be following the pattern that we have seen, but delving into the wisdom to teach us that there was a pattern, but we need to understand the messages of how we are to use the pattern. As we can see from here, these are numbered. So the vibration, so we are now anchoring onto the vibration of the gods here. So to know how to use the vibration of the gods. So of course now we have 3. Of course there's 3 and there's also 3. So there we have 2 3s are 6, and this is how we have the 6, the number of man. 2 3s. The 2 3s come together here, 3. Of course, we have the master number here and the master number here. Now, we see that coincides pretty well with Mother Eve's word, or the first word of Mother Eve when she says, let there be light, and there was light. So I'm believing that that is the mantra. Our mantra is to let there be light, and there was light. So of course it's the number 11. 11 is 9. That tells us that after we have gone into the incubation, just like I mentioned before, there were 2 sets of 13. So this is really more or less saying that there are 2 sets of the master number, which is 5 and 3. We will, of course, that will show up again as we go along. But we see, well, I'm saying 5 and 3. There's 3 plus 2 is also 5. But we will see, I am just going as I'm intuitively guided here, because I am seeing a pattern for the new creation is unfolding here. So the next we have is number 4, but there is not a number 4 here. We have not got a number 4 here, and perhaps it really means that from number 4, so we've had number 1, number 2, number 3. We have 2 3s. I'm not sure whether we are meant to take this 3 as the 4th command, we could say. that could be one thing, or whether we call on these two gods at the same time, the divided God and the blessed God. Because when God divided the waters, I believe the first bless, no, I was thinking there was the divided God. Okay, the divided God and the sole God was in the verse, fourth verse of the Holy Bible. So we are not quite clear about the 4 now, but we see we have 2 4s on this side here, which is 2 and 8. I'm not going to make much comments on that now. So we have got a pattern. We can move on to 5. We can move on to 6. We can move on to 7, because these are really unfolding beautifully for us. So basically, the only number we haven't got there is 4. Now, perhaps the absence of that 4 that is a miss here, while it is very reflective in the incubator for number 4, but it perhaps calls us to be aware to include ourselves in the making, or that we are part of this making when we say our image and likeness. So the word our, we are creating man in our image after our likeness. Perhaps that's why that 4 isn't there. So then we ask ourselves, where is the 4? Where is that 4? And perhaps this is why we usually use the word, these are words that are in our vocabulary to bring life to the gods. Then we say, for you. We are doing this for you. So, or we are doing this to you. Okay, but we have the 2, we have 2s, but now we are for you. We are for you. So perhaps that is what is we are called to do. This is our input or level of creativity in this here. When Mother Eve, as I say, lets out the contracts, there is a part of all makeup that really goes into that creation. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up, and so I believe that this is giving us great depth of insight right here. So we have the 5, because it has been a little bit difficult, let's see, to work with the 2 boards, but let's just look at this. So the 4, as I say, and this reminds me, because I have this like cross here, for the number 4, this is the developmental stage, which is also 3. So remember that I pointed out there were 2 3s, and perhaps the bottom 3 was one to which is the blessed God, was one to apply after the first 3, which is the divided 3. So but we see that, of course, 3 4s are 12, and 12 would be 1 plus 2 is 3 right here. So this is coming in that column. So we can see there is a synchronicity or a correlation happening here. A correlation is happening right here with the number 3 to help us see that we are on the right track. So the number 4 is where we get our orientation. This is where, as co-creators, we need to be mindful. So as we have done this, because everything is intuitively done here, and we have our north, south, east, and west right here that we need to examine. Okay. I'm just looking, there was another point as well where we had this on the number 6. Okay. So we can see that Number 3 coincides with the developmental stage on the sacrifice template, which is where we need to be mindful of what we are developing to take into the incubator to creating the new man. So to be mindful of our thoughts, our actions, and so on. Now, there is much more to examine here, but we'll have to do this in another part of this sacrifice. So these are the gods of Genesis of chapter 1, the 9 gods. I have just looked at the 9 gods, not the 14 gods altogether now, but the 9 gods. And we can see that there is a new pattern developing here on how to approach these gods. We also have 2 5s here, of course, and perhaps there's another thing. Perhaps we only need to be looking at, one aspect. I was going to say one section of these, because we have the patterns the same here, but we have 1, 2, 3, and we have 4. Then we've got 5. We have the same as with the number 3. We've got the same dilemma here with the 5s. Of course, 8 is that which sets everything into motion. That's it, is the stage. I hope you enjoy this or find it insightful. I believe that it has opened a window of opportunity for us to examine how we are required to work with the gods. I'm excited about that, and I hope you are too. So let's stay ignited on this Cry Me Queen channel, and of course, if you like this presentation, give us a thumb up. The thumb up is Mother Eve. This is Mother Eve right here, the 5th, okay? And this is where we are using Mother Eve all along, but we have not been mindful of what we are doing. So I believe that this is raising consciousness in bringing Mother Eve to light.